I really do think that the YouTube channel has changed my life. It's been 9 months since I started my YouTube channel, Quilt in Color, and I have 745 subscribers today. I thought I'd just take some time out to reflect on what I've learned so far with my YouTube channel, just a way to document it, and just to let you know what you would be in for if you decided to start your own YouTube channel. On this channel, I make a variety of quilting videos. I have interviews, tutorials, just vlog type things. I try to incorporate life lessons as much into the quilting as possible to make sure that this is a quilting video and not just a YouTube channel video. I pulled out a stack of quilts from my drawer and I'm going to show them to you. I thought I'd give you something fun to look at. So here's this one. It's a light bulb. It says, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. One way that the YouTube channel has changed my life is that I've started recording myself and listening to the playback of the video. I'm one of those people who didn't actually like to be photographed and videoed, so it was not very common for me to take a lot of videos. So once I hit the record button and I listened to it, the first video was very cringy. It's like I didn't know I sounded like that. I didn't know I looked like that. And it was pretty bad. I don't picture things in my head as most people can. When I'm asked to close my eyes and picture a quilt, for example, I think it, I don't really see a quilt. This means I don't see an image of myself either when I'm thinking about myself. It's more of an internal thought and not a visual. And so I'm not really thinking about how I appear to others physically because I don't think of myself as a picture. So by recording the video and playing back the video, I can see myself on a more objective basis to see what I look like and what I sound like and how my mannerisms affect others. So if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, I would say it's a lot of work, but that lesson by itself is very important. So if you could just take a video of yourself and watch the playback, you'll know what you sound like and how you appear to others, and it'll give you a better perspective on yourself. Once I have this video, it lets me better compare myself to other people. You know how when you're when you're binding a quilt and you're one with the quilt as you're binding it because you're attached pretty much to the quilt, and then when you turn it over and you can put it away from you and you are now separate being from the quilt itself, it gives you a better perspective. You can look at it as a third party. You know, when you're working on a quilt, you're looking at all the little flaws. You're looking at this thread needs to be trimmed, or this quilting stitch is too small or too big, or this block is turned sideways, or maybe I should have used this color instead of that color. You're really focusing on the negative things. And once you look at it from a greater perspective, you can look at it overall and see the bigger impact that it makes. And yes, there's still threads on here that needs to be trimmed off, but overall the threads are not the part that really makes the impact on the quilt. It's the color and the words and those kinds of things. And so overall, for me, once I saw my video, I could better compare myself to others from a third party perspective, I guess. And when I'm focusing on myself, I'm looking at the flaws, and when I can see the video, I can see the whole picture. And even though obviously the flaws are still there, they're not as apparent because everybody has flaws. And so it's easier for me to compare myself to other people, especially once I edit the video and I can put the video online on the YouTube channel and I can see the video the same way as I can see any other YouTube video. It really helps me compare better how I present myself. And yes, there are still flaws and things I can work to make better, but overall it makes me feel better about myself that I can better compare myself to others in the same format. Because when I'm comparing my unedited version to their edited version, it just makes me feel bad about myself. So once I can compare the edited version to their edited version, that just makes it so much fairer. If I can forgive the mistakes in others, then I should surely be able to forgive those mistakes in myself. And another way that the YouTube channel has changed my life is by growing the quilting community. I've met so many of you through this channel who are all very supportive of the channel, and I enjoy reading the comments, and I enjoy all the feedback that I'm getting. I enjoy the communication that my viewers have with each other, and it's just a lot of fun to be part of the community and sharing my quilt projects with everyone and finding out what you've been working on. And you're all kings and queens in my book. I hope that I can continue building a strong community and that the community grows and that you can form friendships with each other as well as with me. I'm really enjoying making friends with you. There's another quilt for you to look at. Here's an elephant quilt. All sorts of different stitching. I made this in 2018. I even remembered to write that down on the back. The third way that the YouTube channel has affected me is that I can now see my flaws more clearly in my communication skills. I've always considered myself an awkward person socially, and I am more of a listener than a talker, as you may see when you listen to my interviews, and my voice is out of practice when I'm talking. I have awkward long pauses, and I don't always hold the attention of the person that I'm trying to communicate to, and I don't sound very confident. And this YouTube channel has helped me, because I need to sound confident on the camera, it's helped me learn how to communicate better. And I think that that's something that is going to help me in real life as well as just on the videos. And seeing these flaws clearly on camera is a really good thing, in my opinion, because then I can hone in on what it is that I need to improve. It's not a big bag of I just need to speak better. I can say, okay, well, I can watch the details and say, this is where I need to focus on, and this is how I can communicate better. It makes it easier to see the path of correcting them. The YouTube experts say that you should make each video 1% better than the last one. And if I can, once I learn how to edit better, so that the pauses and the jump cuts where I'm cutting out all the ums and the ahs, and if I can learn to speak better, then I need to edit less, and it will help me overall in the scheme of things in both directions, in editing and also in communication. There's another quilt for you. This one's India. There's an elephant. This is the one piece that I cut from some fabric, and I really like the way it turned out. I really like where all the shapes fell on this elephant. So the fourth way that this channel is changing is that I'm making goals in my life again. When I was young, I had a lot of goals. Get a career, get a house, get an education, all those kinds of things. And I was just focusing one after another to fulfill those goals. And after that, I got burned out and I decided to take a step back from the goal fulfillment steps. I realized that most of my burnout had to do with my ambition. And I was just trying too hard, too fast to get everything done. And so when I decided to take a step back and appreciate what I have so far, that really helped me a lot. I made a plan to do less instead of doing more. And now I think I'm getting back to the goal fulfillment because I want to communicate better to you. So now I'm learning how to communicate better, and I'm learning to edit videos and all those little things that are a part of the YouTube channel. So now I'm making plans not just to make videos, but also to make quilts, more designs for my quilting, and making more quilts. I've actually been making more quilts as I started this channel, learning what types of quilts people want to see and what kinds of videos people want to see. So here's another quilt for you. This one's a pieced quilt. So even though I'm not monetized yet, it takes 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours in order to become monetized on YouTube. I've been having a lot of fun making these videos and making these quilts, this YouTube channel gives me an excuse to quilt more, which is an awesome thing. It takes a lot of time to make the quilt, to record the video, to edit the video, then to upload it. And I know that I'm just getting better over time, making it at least 1% better each time. I want to make a channel where I show you what normal looks like in quilting. It's nice to be able to make a video that shows you start to finish what a quilt looks like, and I think a lot of people like those kinds of videos. But for me, what the world is missing is to see what normal looks like. I want to show you the process. Quilting takes a long time. It takes more than an hour to make a quilt, and to me, the part of the quilting process that most people miss is that middle section. You see the beginning and then you see the end, and there's that middle section where you're just making, like for example for this quilt, just making more and more blocks. For me, that's really what the zen is in quilting, where you get in the rhythm and you get in the flow, you get in the zone, and people don't get to see that because you're seeing the beginning and the end. It's also where you may have some problems. You may wind up sewing the blocks incorrectly or having some other issues. And also there are steps that maybe are just said in passing that aren't quite as obvious. I know that I was very surprised at how much pressing there is in quilt making. And I was wondering what steps are required steps and what steps can I just ignore. If you can show the whole process from start to finish, even though it takes a long time to show that kind of video, I think it's a better experience for people, because then they will get a better feel for what quilting is actually like and not just the first step and the final product. So when a tutorial tells you to make this block, okay, now make 300 more of those, I think it's important for you to know what that process looks like when you're making 300 more of those same things, and how you can cut steps to make it faster, how to be more efficient, and also how that feels to be able to do that. When somebody tells you to make 300 of the same blocks, you can, in your mind, I think you can think it through like it's, okay, 300 more of those, but when you're actually doing it in practice, it's a little bit of a different feeling. It takes time to make those 300 blocks. And the steps that are mentioned in passing are a lot more important than you would think when you're actually making the blocks. Like the pinning, the pressing, the trimming, and the basting, all of those things are important, and they're not shown as much in those tutorial videos as they would affect you in real life. The room gets messier as you go along with your process, and you get threads all over the room and all over your clothing. My house becomes a disaster area. There's almost always a piece of thread on myself that I don't notice. And also the mistakes. There will be mistakes in quilting, and especially if you're a new quilter and you can see that it's normal for everybody to make mistakes, I think you may feel better about your own quilting skills. And somewhere in the middle of those 300 blocks, you get in the zone, you figure out a rhythm and a process that works really well for you. And there's times when you'll become one with the quilt and the sewing machine. And I think that's an important part to share. You'll just get in the zone and get mesmerized by the quilt that you're making. And this part really shows very clearly why we quilt. It's the feeling. For me, the process of making a quilt is the joy of it. The finished product is nice. It's an extra bonus. But for me, that's not why I'm making quilts. Oh, let me show you another quilt. USA. This one's using scraps of another quilt that I made, just the way I had cut them. I think we should make our own term for what that in the zone means for quilting. I think if I can show you what normal looks like in terms of quilting, then you'll feel better about yourself and your quilting skills, and that you also will be able to see your flaws as opportunities for improvement and not discouragement to keep you from quilting. Another thing this YouTube channel does for me, it documents my life and my quilting. I've documented my quilts in many ways with scrapbooks and photo albums and a spreadsheet, which I'll show you someday. But this YouTube channel lets me document things in a new way, because you get to see myself aging as I'm making the quilt. You see what age I am while I'm making the quilt. You get to see every detail of the quilt making process. There's a lot, like the mistakes that I made or the challenges that I encountered. Usually I may not take the time to say them in a blog post or in a photograph. You won't see that. But in this channel where I'm showing you everything, you'll be able to see everything in my decision-making process, what other ideas I had that I didn't implement. And I think it answers some questions that you might see in antique quilts, like what is that supposed to be, and why did you do it this way? Did you run out of fabric? Who was this? Where were you? What machine did you use, or did you do that by hand? The YouTube video will help show all of that. There may still be some questions left unanswered, but you can always ask me in the comments and I will be happy to answer them for you. It's a person shoveling snow. Dog walking. The house. And a very folk artsy tree. Here's another quote for you for Easter. I'm hoping that I can continue to make quilts the way I've been making quilts. I do like to make small quilts, so that part is easy to be able to show you a quilt from start to finish. But I'd also like to continue making the bigger quilts. These bigger quilts take a lot of time to make, but I don't want to just focus on one kind of quilt. I like, as you can see from this, I make a large variety of quilts. Pieced and applique, raw edge. I guess I don't think I showed you anything that isn't raw edge applique, but I do other types of applique as well. This quilt has a label, so it's in 2012. And you can see on here that I quilted stitches on here to add. My quilting is like embroidery. It's very uplifting for me to make a quilt that has lots of views and lots of comments, things that you like. I want to make quilts that you like. I want to make you happy. On an ongoing basis, I'm hoping that I can continue making the types of quilts that I have been making. I like to make small quilts, so I'd like to show those to you. I like to experiment and do a large variety of quilts. These were all quilts that I made before I started my YouTube channel. So this is a bonus for you, but there's lots of videos that I have on this channel where I made quick short quilts that you can view. In this channel I have a variety of quilting videos. I make a variety of quilts, all different kinds. And if you're interested in that, please be sure to subscribe. And if you like this video, please give me a like. I hope to see you again in my next video.